Hello, hello, chat. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I want to start off with saying that. Let me get a couple comments. Michael, I don't know if you're still here, but thank you. Sophie, thank you. Thank you, Miss W. Mom first always. Jill. Couldn't, or rather, I wouldn't be in shape if earlier, but your new time, maybe I can. I'll try. I hope Jill comes back. Hi, Lydia. Hey, Judy. Hi, hoping for answers. So first, I just want to ask for those who, celebrated today or whatever. Did you guys have a great Mother's Day? I know, like, I woke up to my son bought me flowers and a card, which was so sweet because I wasn't expecting it, but he surprised me. And then we had steak and shrimp for dinner, so that was nice. Oh my gosh. My husband says Happy Mother's Day to you guys. All the mothers out there, all the mothers to be, all the dads who are mom and dad. Oh my gosh. Hold on, y'all. Let me get rid of this dog. Hey, Megs. Happy Mother's Day. I will tell him, hoping for answers. So I wanted to touch on this topic because for a lot of people, it's a different day for everyone for different situations. Um, I myself, I don't look forward to the day because I've lost my mom and grandmother, but I look forward to it for my son because, he looks forward to it for me. So it's just one of those things that you have to like balance in your mind that like you are still a mom to someone. So, it means something to that person, but like I myself dread this day most of the time, like every single year. In fact, I had lost my mom in September of 2006, and like her birthday had came around and like her death anniversary came around, but I always found Mother's Day to be the hardest day to face. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things, how this is different for everyone. And it might not be an easy live to listen to. So if anyone feels that they can't be here, to listen, or if it's hard for you, I completely understand 100%. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Crazy. Same to you. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. All right. Let's see. Okay, so that one's the first one. Okay, so this is the first article I'm gonna kind of go over and skim through. No, Megs, you don't have to go. Unless it's uncomfortable for you, like I said, I know it's a tough day for some people, but some people, even though we've lost our mothers, no matter regardless of the situation, we still look forward to it because of we have children that this day means a lot to them. Hey CNY, how are you? Happy Mother's Day. Hi Evie Marie. Yes. And but there are situations where, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, where like that might not have even been a choice for some, so that makes this day an even harder day, a different level of grief and sadness. So yeah, Megs, you're good, and I hope that you had a wonderful Mother's Day. So for those who did get gifts or anything from their children, please feel free to share. Um, if you what you got, how did you celebrate today? I'm not sure, Kristen. I don't know. Megs maybe misunderstood the live, but no, anybody's free to be here. I only said that if it was a tough day for anyone, that whether their moms are no longer here, or different situations that I'm going to go over. If it's a sensitive topic, that nobody should feel obligated to stay here, is all I said. But yeah, that was pretty much it, Kristen. Father's Day is the one day hard for me, and I'm sorry. No, you're fine bringing it up. That's why we're all here, Michael, and I can completely get that too. 100%. Okay, so on this article, just some important reminders for anyone feeling a lot of emotions this Mother's Day. You're not weird or broken if you don't feel like celebrating. If the constant stream of Mother's Day messages and emails, advertisements, and social media posts are making you feel anything but seen lately, just know that you're not alone. Despite what the flower companies would lead you to believe, not everyone is excited to celebrate or be celebrated on this day. Motherhood is about as sanctified a role as there is in our culture, and Mother's Day, as an annual celebration of that role, is almost impossible to escape from. Many people simply can't relate to the experience that is so celebrated on that day for a multitude of reasons. It's also important to note that, in spite of how cherished motherhood is, society, in many ways, fails to support mothers. So it can also feel understandably trite and insincere to see so many companies pushing roses and scented candles when what you could really use is affordable childcare, healthcare, and paid parental leave. So if Mother's Day is a tough one for you, and it's not just one day, of course, because the hype starts weeks before, right? Know that there is nothing wrong with you or the way you choose to get through this time of year. Here are a few validating reminders from people who know exactly what it's like to be overwhelmed by complicated emotions around this time. And before I go on, I do want to say that I'm not here to dampen anyone's mood, to ruin anyone's Mother's Day, because that's the last thing I want. I want all of you mothers to celebrate. If your mom is here, celebrate. If you're a mom yourself, definitely feel loved, and happy Mother's Day to all of you. I was just wanting to bring this up because for a lot of us, it is a different day. It is a lot of different emotions. My oldest daughter made me a card that said, "I love you, Mom. You are the best mom I could have, and you work hard. Just know that whether you are happy, sad, mad, or upset, I am always here for you. And I will always love you. Never forget that." Oh, that's so sweet, CNY. And you are a good mom, and you do work really hard. Oh, crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. And that's what I mean. There's different situations. It's already hard to lose your mom, and then you lost her on Mother's Day. So that's extra. That's hard. Hey, TF. Let's see. Yes, this is the first Mother's Day is always the hardest. Hey, Gray Squirrel, how are you? My girls are infertility babies and my miracles. I understand all the emotions of the mamas. Yes, and there's different ones, and we're gonna go through a couple of those. I was blessed to have my children and grandchildren plus my two adopted girls. Oh, that's awesome! You adopted. I got new AirPods. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got new AirPods. I try to be the mom that my mom wasn't. That is what keeps me working hard at it. That's awesome. All right, let me close this door so I don't hear gaming in the background. Hold on. Okay. And yes, but we are so sorry for your recent loss. All right. For the person who lost their mother. My mother died when I was a teenager, and Mother's Day used to be unbearable. But a few years ago, I decided to reframe my thinking. Mom isn't here with me, but that doesn't mean I can't celebrate her. I stay off social media so that I don't compare my experience to anyone else's and spend the day watching her favorite movies, looking at old photographs of her, and just thinking about the brave, kind, inspiring woman she was. I think that's also very important. That's something that for those of us who have lost our moms, that we do have, like, some kind of memories or like something that was their favorites or whatever, so we can find some way to celebrate them without them physically being here with us. For those who have lost their mother, Mother's Day can feel like an unavoidable reminder of the loss of someone who has a profound impact on them. Whether the relationship was once closed or strained, feeling the absence of a mother on this day can stir up complicated emotions and grief. Grief does not have an end date, and it is often in those joyful moments or holidays that the loss can feel most intense. And anybody that's in chat, didn't mean to do that. Okay, I obviously can't highlight. Um, Please remember this sentence. It does not have an end date. And it's often in those joyful moments or holidays that the loss can feel the most intense. There is no end date to grief. Don't let anyone tell you how you should grieve, how long you should grieve. Tell you that, okay, you should be over it by now, or because this situation that you shouldn't be grieving. Like, don't let anyone tell you that, because grieving is different for everyone. Everyone's journey is different. And sometimes it takes years to come to finally accept and realize and be able to. And I don't ever let anyone say, oh, you get over it. You don't get over it. You get through it, and you learn a new way of life. You learn a new normal going forward. My mom neglected me, didn't like or want me. My son has passed tragically. My daughter thinks it's a Hallmark grab for money, so she doesn't consider Mother's Day a thing at all. She's my only family. I'm sorry, Jill, that you went through all of that. And see, that's what I mean. This day for you has a totally different meaning. You have tons of emotions that you're going through, and it's not an easy day. I mean, how many of you here that don't have moms or whatever, that like when the cards and stuff do start coming out, you see the flowers, you see the hype all around it, and you just dread that day. Like that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. It took me like 6 years until I had a reality check and was like, she wouldn't want me living. Yeah, exactly. Crazy. I can't even remember what year it finally was for my mom. um I don't even, like, probably 8 to 9 years. Stop, Rocky. And then I lost my grandmother right around that time. Like right when I was coming to accept my mom's, I lost my grandmother, which was my second mom. And at a large portion of my life, she was actually like my mom. So yeah, it was hard for me. Rock. Yes, everyone grieves differently and in different time frames. It's a new adaptation to a new normal. Yep. And it works different for each individual person. Exactly. Yes, nice message, Tracy. Thank you. Okay. For the person who is estranged from their mother. On Mother's Day, I try to be the mother to myself that I've never had. I ask myself what I need and give myself permission to feel however I feel in the moment. I might want to spend the day alone, taking a long walk, or going to the spa. Or if I feel like company, I'll do something with my closest friends, the people I feel safe with. I don't need them to relate to how I feel or offer advice, just listen. In the case of estrangement, there is a double grief of sorts: the mother's absence from one's life, but also the grief of incompletely receiving the kind of love and care a mother is meant to give, the very love and care celebrated on that day. A whole lot of fewer people have good relationships with their mothers than the world would have you believe. You're not so alone in having conflicts today or in simply not having a mother who is safe or available to call. So yeah, this is the one I was talking about. There's a lot of people who are not in touch with their moms, not in touch with their moms, and their moms passed away. You have this double grief of sorts for these very reasons outlined here. And that makes this day even harder for that person. I had to write letters of apologies to my children for me being hard to deal with during that time. Yeah, I get that your emotions are all over the place. You're in your head. You have like this brain fog. You're still trying to grasp on to the fact that, your mom is no longer in the world. Like, I get that, crazy mama. No problem, Jill. I'm glad that you're here. For the person who is trying so hard to become a mother, be gentle with yourself, knowing that the day itself will bring up emotions you may not be anticipating. If you think Mother's Day may be a heavy day for you, make a plan ahead of time for how you will spend the day and who you will spend it with. For some, social media posts may be particularly triggering of painful emotions, and if that is the case, make a plan to stay off of social media that day. It will also be imperative to ask for what you need ahead of time and on the day from loved ones, whether that means extra space or increased support. Lastly, validate your own emotions by acknowledging that there is a reason this day is hard for you instead of trying to fight it. For the person who is struggling with motherhood, as a single mom of two kids under age 5, Mother's Day isn't all that different from any other day. Like the rest of the year, I'm flying solo, cooking, cleaning, entertaining, and trying to keep the peace. It's round the clock and exhausting and hard not to envy other moms who are being spoiled that day or at the very least getting a couple hours of precious me time. So yeah, the single moms out there that are, handling it all on their own, like this day can be extra hard for you. So try to give yourself a break also. Since Mother's Day is marked as a celebration of the wonderful qualities of mothers, those who are struggling with their role as a mother can feel internal conflict about disappointment or not feeling good enough. Many mothers feel overloaded with pressures to do it all and silently struggle with feelings of failure, loss of identity, exhaustion, or loneliness in their role. To make Mother's Day easier, take inventory of things you have enjoyed in the past and the types of things that make you feel most like yourself. Make a plan for incorporating these things into your day. Consider your expectations for Mother's Day and what you feel like you need most right now versus how you feel like you should spend this day. Whether you need rest, time away, or a day at home alone without any expectations, it will be essential for you to communicate these things to those who are participants in caring for your children with you. If you feel lost about what you need, ask a loved one to help you with suggestions and implement a plan for the day. There is nothing you have to do to earn this day. You are worthy of being a mother, regardless of how you feel in this moment. Use this day to thank yourself for doing your best. And after reading that one, I do have to say that there's a quote that I saw a long time ago, and it really stuck with me because it's really true. When we're like first time moms or, our first children come along or whatever, or at any point, actually, If you have to ask yourself if you're a good mom, the fact that you're worried about being a good mom says that you are one. So I'll say that again. The fact that you worry about if you're a good mom means that you already are one. My dad called me today to wish me happy Mother's Day. Never has done that once. Almost always forgets my birthdays too. I was all, huh? Hmm. Maybe something in him told him to reach out to you, and that was a call that maybe you both needed, Kristen. I don't know the circumstances, but I'm glad that you got that call. I didn't stay off social media because I believe in you and know if you're on for this day, it means something good, loving, caring, and helpful, which I need. So, yeah, thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Jill. Thank you for being here. You're always a light in my comments, in my chat. I absolutely love you. Okay, this one might be a tough one. So, again, if anyone doesn't, want to be here for this topic specifically, I completely get it. For the person who lost a child, the labeling or title of mother is applied when one has a child. So when someone who has experienced the child's death hears the term mother proclaimed with such joy and loving excitement on Mother's Day, it can be triggering and add to her awareness that she would have been a mother had the loss not occurred. As in all holidays in which grief may be present, you should check in with yourself, your needs, and your mood, and do whatever feels most comfortable. If that means honoring that you are still a mother to that child, then lighting a candle would be appropriate. If it means staying out of the public eye for the day, that's okay. Whatever makes the day as smooth as it can be to get through. If you have a particularly connected relationship in which you nurture or mother another child, friend, or relative, you might celebrate that role as well and reach out to them on Mother's Day. If you find the holiday triggering, it might also be helpful to remind yourself that Mother's Day is a commercially created holiday. If you approach it from that perspective, you might just be able to ignore it altogether. And that does make a lot of sense. Let me see, catch up on comments. Hi, Susan. Thank you. If we told each other our stories, we would need a week to recover. Thank you, Daisy and Sifra, for going live. Aw, you never know how much I needed this. Aw, Judy, we love you. And I'm so glad that uh, I can't even honestly tell you. Like, there's many reasons why I decided to just do this because, Sifra and I had a long conversation. We all know Sifra just lost his mom. And we've had talks like this day is just, it's hard for a lot of people. And for some, they're not part of that. They have a story I read on here, and it's like, it's a club you don't want to be a part of. And it's like, those who aren't part of that club, like Crazy Mama said, hug your moms. If you can, if you have an estranged relationship or, just like a little spout going on at the moment, like reach out and talk to them if you can. Yeah, it's just a tough day for a lot of people. Love that quote. That's what I mean about you. You found that, and I love that quote about if you're thinking of you being a good enough mom, you're a good enough mom. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically it's like the fact that you're worried about being a good mom means that you already are one. And like I heard that so long ago. I think my son was like 4 or 5, and like it stuck with me. I had my 3 daughters and granddaughter here. It was very nice. We had steak on the grill, went for ice cream, and played cards for a while. It was a very nice day. But then 2 left to go back home to Ohio. Oh, Evie, why I'm glad that you were able to have a good day with them. And we had steak also, so that's nice. But I do understand whenever they, excuse me, when they leave to go back home, especially to a different state, like that's tough. I'm sorry, but I am glad that you had a good day. Um, Judy, I am glad they were pulled to do this live. Yeah, I, I, I guess it's because we've all become such good friends. We all have different stories, and Sip is like a brother to me, and like I know everything he's going through right now. And then my own situation. I feel like I lost two moms in my life, and it's not a good feeling. You feel like you're just all alone in this great big world, and like your parents or your mom um not in the world with you. Sometimes that's just a horrible feeling, but I don't like to make it seem like I'm bitter towards those who have their moms, because that's not the case. Like I always tell my husband, make sure he calls his mom. We try to spend time with his mom, because it's personal to me. Of course he goes through it with me, but yeah, it's just a different day. Hey, Blind, thank you for the Mother's Day wishes. Hey, Miss W, you got a plant, barbecue chips, and a Slim Jim. Hey, that sounds like some of your favorite things, Lydia. There's nothing wrong with that. So my son actually got me flowers. They're Gerber daisies, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got Gerber daisies, which are my favorite. I got a card, and I got Reese's pretzel, like chocolate covered pretzels, because he knows those are my favorite. So he did good. Thank you, Miss W. And again, I don't know, everyone's story in chat. I don't know who has children, or anyone's situation, but happy Mother's Day to all of you who are in chat that have moms and all that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of this. I think it's very long. Let's see. This might be one I had actually read a while back. When Mother's Day hurts, comforting the motherless. I'm just going to say it. Mother's Day sucks for some people. As this day approaches each year, a familiar feeling creeps over me. It appears at first as irritability and fatigue, but eventually reveals itself as my old friend, unresolved grief. I lost my mom suddenly in 2005 and later became a therapist for children in the foster care system. These life experiences make me acutely aware that not everyone has a mom to celebrate on Mother's Day. Some mothers abandon their children, some mothers are addicted, some are incarcerated, some are disabled or mentally ill, and of course, some mothers are no longer with us. I say this not to rain on the parade of the mothers we are celebrating, but to shed light on the millions of people who are part of a club they never asked to be part of. Yeah, so this is the one I read. The motherless. I want to connect with others who are motherless and talk about how it's okay to feel broken, different, and forgotten. It's all right to cry as you come across gift guides for mom, perusing the internet quarantined alone at home. It's acceptable to be jealous of people planning Zoom calls with their mom. You are allowed to spend the day curled up in a ball in your bed crying as you wonder how life turned out this way. It doesn't matter if it's been 6 months or 16 years. It is healthy to allow your emotions about your mom to exist on this day, whatever they may be. For children exposed to trauma, Mother's Day can resurface feelings of the ultimate rejection they experienced in early life. They may not remember the loss and abandonment with active memories, but they will likely experience it on a subconscious level. They may have hidden thoughts like, if my mother doesn't love me, who possibly could? If she could abandon me, who can I trust? Without my mom here, who will take care of me? And without her, who am I? And I've thought of, especially the without her, who am I? And, you know, even though I grew up with, I mean, not grew up, even though I still had my grandmother at the time and my husband and my family, it's just a different feeling that you feel when you no longer have your mom in the world. I'm going to catch up in chat real quick. My food today, chips and a bottle of wine. Oh, and you, Daisy, Siffin in chat. Aw, Jill. My mom is 87. I live with her to take care of her. I have 3 grown children and they are my sunshine. That's awesome, Susan. And enjoy every moment that you have. That's awesome. Hey, Kursuma. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You are very welcome, Sif, and you're going to be more positive and stronger from going through this loss. You'll be able to make a better decisions in life, and your mom will be smiling on you. So sorry for those who have lost their moms. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough day. It really is. It's a tough topic. But I just, I wanted to acknowledge it because a lot of times I even try to just not focus on the day. Like I said, I focus on it for my son, but other than that, I mean, every day I feel the loss. So, you know what I mean? It's just like it said on the previous one, it's just a commercially whatever holiday man-made. You don't have to even acknowledge the day. If that helps you, then you don't even have to acknowledge it. If you've lost your mom or if it's a tough situation for you. It is common to think we are at fault for the negative behavior of those who are supposed to love us. Especially vulnerable to these thoughts are young children who were unable to verbalize their emotions and fully comprehend mental illness, substance abuse, and death. This Mother's Day, I would like to pause for a moment and ask if there is a better way we can approach this holiday that validates the experiences of those who have lost a relationship to the person who gave them life. Can we look at the ugly truth that not all mothers are available or capable of loving us the way we need them to, and acknowledge that Mother's Day can be hard for the millions of people who don't have a mom? Are those raised by grandmothers or foster mothers able to acknowledge their biological mothers on Mother's Day, or does it feel like a betrayal? God, that just hit really hard. I was raised by my grandmother for a long time, so that was a tough one. Or there are hard questions we need to think about on Mother's Day if we want to help those who are suffering from loss. I know some might say I'm taking this too far, but I think it's time we had this discussion. I know there are others who feel the way I do. I want to unite us this Mother's Day instead of silently grieving in the shadows of celebration. If we want to comfort the motherless, there are steps we can take. It starts with acknowledging that not everyone has a supportive and caring mother in their life. If you work with children, you can incorporate these ideas into your interactions by assuming that at least one child in the group is experiencing distress about Mother's Day. Comforting the motherless on Mother's Day. Acknowledge with words and actions that Mother's Day might be hard for someone you know. This statement alone can make a huge impact. When we validate a person's experience with empathy and understanding, we open the door to healing. Suddenly, someone who feels very misunderstood and lost knows that someone else in their life gets it. This can be incredibly powerful for those without mothers because we often feel isolated in the feelings we experience as they relate to our loss and trauma. Instead of shying away from the topic of mom on Mother's Day, embrace it. Ask if they want to talk about her. Bring up happy memories while also validating the painful memories. Nobody is all bad or all good. Integrating the negative and positive aspects of our mothers can prevent harmful black and white thinking in future relationships. Offer activities on Mother's Day that honor or respect the mothers who are missing. Even if mom abused or neglected her children, the children will still love her. Mother's Day is as much for the child as it is for the mother. Help the child find something positive about their mom. For example, despite her struggles, she stayed healthy enough to give birth to you. There is always something good we can find if we look for it. If a mother is no longer alive or in the child's life, you can participate in a hobby she loved or visit somewhere she enjoyed going. For those who never knew their mother and had no relationship with her, we can point out the qualities she passed down to them, the beautiful color of their hair, their kind heart, their ability to climb and play. Make a card or write a letter to mom even though she will not receive it. Creating something for our moms can make us feel purposeful and connected to her in spirit. It helps us to know that we did something to acknowledge her existence instead of ignoring it. Despite the reasons behind our separation, I can't stress enough that most people we will always long for the affection of their mothers. Being adopted at birth is no exception. We have a genetic and instinctual connection with our biological mothers built into our psyche that exists beyond the circumstance. Although it may be uncomfortable for you as the functioning parent to accept this, it could cause harm to deny these profound feelings. After many years of research, we know that children do better when they stay connected to their biological parents in some way, even if it's an indirect relationship like honoring their culture or heritage. The safety of the child comes first, of course. Call a friend or a family member without a mom on Mother's Day to say you are thinking of him or her. Share your stories of their mom and let them know you miss her too. As someone without my mom, I'm here to reassure you that this will not bring up sad feelings that aren't already there. Sometimes people shy away from talking about lost loved ones out of fear that we will trigger grief or distress, but the opposite is true. When the grieving can speak of their loved ones out loud, we find peace. After the tears fall, a sense of calm and a feeling of relief washes over the grief. And I can honestly say that like this does eventually um that is true, and it like I said, it's not a timeline. It might take a while to get there where you can talk about them out loud. Um and it doesn't trigger anything that's not already there. Okay. Okay, I think that was all of that one. And then this one, I need to catch up in chat real quick. Okay, so all right, sorry about that. Hey Robbie, I make Mother's Day every day for my mom. She's the best. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and you can celebrate your moms every day. And even if your moms aren't here, there are things that you can do. Write a letter, write a journal to your mom, addressed to her mom, to your mom, and just air it out. And like the other article said, talk about the good, talk about the bad, whatever it is you need to talk to, address it to your mom like you're talking to her. I did that for the first year and a half, I think, where I wrote letters to my mom. My mom, too, was an advocate for children. I never minded sharing her. I'm happy they saw her the same as I. Aw, that's amazing, Miss W, that she could share that same love and be an advocate for children. Um, let's see. My mom has been gone 14 years this October. She has not passed. Long story, but I'm okay with it. But I have my children who are my world, and they will always be first in my life. Oh, Evie, that's got to be tough. I'm sorry. Empathy and understanding. Perfect words. I love that, right? Hey, Nana. And thank you, Sifa, for that message, by the way. Okay, there was only a couple things I wanted to show in this one, because this one was very long. Okay, so this one is in particular to like being estranged from your mom, and then they pass away. So and then he tells like his story, but I wanted to highlight some things. So he says, when she died, I was left to grieve not only her, but also the relationship we could have had, the relationship we should have had. The death itself was painful, of course, but it also brought up unexpected feelings around our initial detachment. It felt at first like I'd never be able to find peace or closure, and that felt terrifying. And that is what I mean about it's different for everyone, you know. So like just for my personal experience, there wasn't a really chance to like say goodbye. So, it all happened rather quickly. and she never really gained consciousness. So it's like I still have this not a complete feeling of closure, because even though we were on good terms and I was living with her at the time, you don't have that chance to, like, you feel like there's a lot of things that were left unsaid. And I think that goes for anybody we lose. But, we're talking about Mother's Day today. So that's hard. And then if you have a relationship where you weren't in contact with your mom, or y'all weren't on speaking terms, or whatever the situation may be, like the other article said, it's a double grief process. It's like it's an even deeper grief process, in my opinion. Estrangement with your mother or anyone can feel like dying. It can also feel like being born again. It can feel like rage. It can feel like a relief. He tells, okay, so those feelings can shift or become magnified when the person dies if you didn't have the opportunity to reconnect, or you tried to reconnect and the attempt failed. And like in this situation, his mom was an addict. She chose addiction over him. That's how he felt. That was his feelings. And he did. So this is something, Kristen, if Kristen's still in here, this is something I wanted to look up because I've saw this in a couple of articles. So it's some kind of therapy, and it's called inner child work. Because he says it wasn't until much later, after a lot of inner child work, that I finally saw her for who she was, a person with a disease. She died of an overdose when she was only 45. So whatever this inner child work is, I've seen it in several articles I've read, and I would like to know more about it. Why did my headphones just cut out? Okay. Hey, Killshot. Thank you. No, you're good, Sifa. Take your time. And like I said, don't feel obligated to be up here or even speak, but we are here for you. Yes. Thank you, Nana. Yeah. So do you know about the inner child? Like it sounds like a type of therapy or something that they go through when they lose their mom, or like an estranged. I don't know how. I've seen it several times. A lot of inner child work. So I'll just continue reading it. I think they bring it up again. My conversation with Dr. McGeehan affirmed my experience of grieving an estranged loved one. It's like when they're alive, they're already dead and haunting you. And then when they've died, you feel lost all over again. Referring to estranged loved ones. You're grieving the reality and the fantasy all at once that you didn't have the mother you deserved. Let's see. And this more about his story. Whatever opportunity the children may have hoped or assumed they'd have for reconciliation with their living father. So in this situation, it was his father. Seeing the adult children come to terms with that reality is almost overwhelming. It's been 4 years, and with each passing year, I continue to do the work around my grief. Out of all the things I've learned about grief, I know, and this is what I was talking about, Kristen, I know that the inner child work and the grieving process doesn't truly end, but morphs into something else. Now I see grief as our feelings of love for a person living on. So I would like the inner child work to be explained in a little bit more detail. Wait, Kisha, are you being serious? Do ketamine treatment if you would like to work on your inner child work? I don't understand. Daisy, how hard? That's hard. No feeling of closure and it ends so quickly. Yes, it is deep. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah. And it's like that for a lot of people. In fact, we have a family friend of ours who has been battling her life pretty much the last like month now, from an OD that ended up with her in ICU, and she's been fighting, and they finally took her off of life support. But the hardest part is her children found out about it today on Mother's Day. And that broke my heart. It's hard to explain in chat, but I can just discuss with you and then you can discuss further. Okay, that works. Yeah, because like I said, I keep seeing it in these articles and I was just interested to know what that was because it might be able to help someone, get through the grief process. So whatever that inner child work is, it seems like it could be really helpful. Okay, Killshot. I wasn't understanding. I guess the ketamine kind of threw me off. It's using this approach to work through each traumatic experience in childhood and how it shapes that person's adulthood. Oh, okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of us who have things that have happened in our childhood that were traumatic. So Jill said, yes, I had K treatment with therapy. It was amazing. I've heard people having negative experiences, but mine were truly deeply helpful. I need continuance, but it's too expensive. Makes me sad. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. You said it was amazing that it worked for you, though. I just hate that it's too expensive. I think so much of our medical system, so many things like mental health, all that should be just automatically covered to help people because mental health is so important. Okay, so let's see. There was something else I wanted to, because this is kind of his story, but I wanted to show some things. All right, so I knew I couldn't go on living in a state of denial and numbness, though. So a year after my mother died, I found a therapist who helped me go through the initial stages of grief and understand perhaps the most essential part of this type of grief. Just because you were estranged, it doesn't mean you aren't allowed to grieve. This is huge because there are nasty comments. There are nasty people that make nasty comments about certain people in situations where this kind of thing was alluded to, and it's not okay. Just gonna point that out there because they know who they are. It's disgusting, and you need to take a look at yourself within yourself to figure out where that is coming from because that's not okay to say. Um, but yeah, just because you were estranged, it doesn't mean you aren't allowed to grieve. Once I grasped this, I could finally breathe. Since then, I've continued my work and learned new ways of navigating my loss, including talk therapy, support groups, writing my feelings out, inner child focus, family constellation therapy, and other trauma work. And I think I've come a long way. In the beginning, one thing that might help someone grieving the death of an estranged person is writing an honest eulogy. If you can let your inner child write one as well as your adult self, this exercise is even more helpful. Let yourself say that your relationship was complicated or they were incapable of loving you the way you deserved. Whatever it is that's on your heart, say that, and then find someone safe to share it with who can hold space for you. I also encourage you to practice self-compassion. Just because you were estranged doesn't mean you don't get to grieve. Dr. McGeehan says that finding people who will validate your reality is so important. Therapy can be a resource, but so can close friends or family, chosen family or blood relatives. Yeah, so it has to do with the feelings that you hold on to from childhood.
Do you want me to drop a link for him?
Oh, yeah, you can. I got a link. Okay, cool. Oh, it's okay, Kristen. Yeah, Jill, I mean, the ketamine kind of threw me, but if there's some kind of therapy, I know microdosing and stuff like that might be a thing. Okay, stop sharing the screen. Hey,
Hey,
Killshot.
can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So I was looking at the inner child work, and for me, I've actually had to do a lot of inner child work. Like for me, I haven't talked to my own mother in about 12 years. She's still alive, and so a lot of the stuff that you're touching on right
Mm-hmm.
now hits home. Um,
Right.
pretty heavily. And days like today are quite hard, but I was blessed enough to have a second mother in my life. So,
Yeah.
but no, the inner child work is kind of what I perceive it as. I mean, everybody can perceive it as something different, but the work that I had to do um, is like when you have childhood trauma
Mm-hmm.
in your mind and like in your brain, your mind kind of um, freezes itself in time right there. Uh,
Right.
and you only understand that trauma from whatever age that trauma happened to you at.
Yeah.
So even though we're, you know, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
our brain is still computing the trauma that we went through as that child because
Mm-hmm.
we've never actually processed it as an adult. So when you're working on the inner child stuff is you go back and you it's like they explained it to me kind of like time traveling. You go back in time to the moment that happened and start to process through all the feelings that you felt at that time,
Mm.
the feelings that you feel now, and try to not really rationalize it, but understand it as an adult because in your
Right.
mind, you're only understanding it as a child.
True.
So if
Yeah.
you go back to that moment in time and try to live in that moment and try to just feel everything that
Right.
happened at that time, now that's where the ketamine kind of comes into play because it's starting to be more introduced into the medical world, I guess, for depression. Because what it does is it allows in correct doses. And to everyone out there, do not do any of this stuff unless you are going to a licensed physician and somebody that knows what they're doing medically, because this
Right.
stuff is it's a tranquilizer. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you take too much of it or you do too much of it, you can find yourself in bad positions. Just like what was said in your chat earlier, is that K completely takes over your mind.
Right.
And but what it does is it allows you to um, it opens up your mind to feel all of those feelings because you're automatically going to have mental barriers, when
Right.
you go, because you don't want to refeel those things, you don't want to relive those things. That's why we've never processed them throughout our lives, is because we just want to forget about them. We don't want to
Right. Like we know they're
process them.
there and we don't like to talk about it, but sometimes like yeah, you have to acknowledge it as an adult. I get
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of inner child work happens. Or for like what I had to do is I had to go back to the individual traumas, and I did do ketamine therapy a couple of times, and it really helped because what I kept finding myself is I would go back in time, like with my therapist and stuff like that, and talk about all of them, but I still refused, subconsciously refuse to feel and accept and to
Mhm.
acknowledge all the things that I did as a child back then.
Right. It's
And
tough.
so it's a very weightlifting thing when as an adult you can go back and try to rationalize those things because you don't really realize that your brain is still understanding it as a child. Like
Right.
even though you're an adult, your brain doesn't understand it as a child. Or
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like the idea in that article where he says like you can even write out a eulogy and write it as your inner child self first. So like let out those emotions as if you're that child going through that and acknowledging that person, passing. And then you can write it in your current adult life also. Like I think that's a good idea too.
yep, yep. And that's where like working on your inner child, you kind of do want to go and seek help from someone just to get yourself started, because you don't really know all of the what do you call it? All the tools of the trade, I guess. So some people may need to write it down, like you were saying. Some people need to say it out loud. Some people need to like put themselves almost comatose to be able to deal with it, depending on how traumatic some of the experiences were. So, you know, you kind of just want to at least start out talking to someone, because they can get you off into the right direction. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, because like for me, therapy was just, it was too much for me. I don't like talking to people about my problems. I like to try figuring them out myself. And but what I realized as a person is that I needed the initial help on, okay, I'm at a Y in the road. Which way am I supposed to go?
Right.
You know, and so going to therapy and stuff like that helps.
And it's different for every individual. I get that. Some people, therapy is amazing and they do it for years, but some people, you know, go to a couple of sessions and then realize it's just not something for them.
Yeah.
And like for me, that's what I was saying. For me, what worked is I didn't do therapy, but I wrote letters to my mom, you know, as if she was going to be receiving them. And that helped me for at least the first 2 years, you know, like I did that for the first 2 years. So.
Yeah. And see, and that's what's so hard about like what every individual goes through when they're going through depression, anxiety, or trauma, because we all experience everything differently, and we all cope with everything differently, and we also all heal differently.
Yes.
Yep. So, you know, what works for me might not work for you, might not work for anybody in chat, but it worked for me. And, you know, so that's where a lot of people, even going through some of these problems, they tend to give up easily, because you just haven't found your thing yet. And, you know, that's why, like, I always try to support everyone, like, that I come in contact with that have these problems, saying, you know, yes, this is going to be hard. You have to face reality that this is going to be hard. But, you know, you once you work through it, and then you start getting them through some of their problems, like not me individually, but once they start working through some of their problems individually, and they start feeling the accomplishment, it helps people start driving a little bit more to want to, you know, seek help and seek the help, or the what's better for themselves. So
and it's a road to healing, you know.
Yes. Yep, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to jump up a minute. I was on break at lunch, lunch at work, so I just wanted to jump up and chat a little bit. But happy Mother's Day to everybody. And you know, like I say to everybody, my form of communication is always open. So if anybody ever needs to talk or anything like that, I'm always open to talk.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for getting up here and explaining that a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw Kristen was a little preoccupied, so I've actually had to go through it.
I'm here now, and you did a great job. I had to get to another room where there wasn't snoring in the
Oh,
background.
there you are.
But no.
Yeah, she could probably explain it a heck of a lot better than I did. So
no, I think you did a great job.
You did a great job, and it's actually important to hear that from
Kristen.
All right. Well, I will be listening and be down in chat. But yeah, you guys have a good Mother's Day, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thank you, Killshot. Kristen, are you still here? Yeah, anybody who is in chat, if you have a channel, if you're a creator, if you're wanting to start a channel one day, feel free to drop the word link drop, all in one word, all lowercase like Sifa did, and it will drop your channel. Because I am all about getting, you know, creators building their channels up and helping you guys out to get your channels up there. Kristen, do you need the link again? Or if anybody else wants to get on panel and say anything or speak on this topic, you're more than welcome. Hey there.
Hey, sorry, I got a telephone call and it kicked me off my phone.
Oh, you're good.
Anyway, no, Killshot did a wonderful job explaining it, and I think it's actually more impactful coming from somebody who's tried that aspect of therapy.
Right.
And like you said, it's not for everybody, but the premise of it is we have to look at this from a child development perspective. It's really like as we are adults, if we've had different traumatic experiences from those formative years, like you said, our brains kind of stop in that moment because of that traumatic experience. So as adults, we tend to work in different ways with using our tools to go back to that time in a safe way, that if the client's willing to and ready to kind of embrace what that traumatic experience was and process that with them. Sometimes clients think they're ready to do it and they're not quite ready to do it, and that's totally understandable. I mean,
Right.
this is their life, this is what they went through. Especially like I can really apply it to like our kids that we had in CPS. Like that's a huge component of what we try to, even though they're not adults yet, so like the teenagers, if we're able to get them in their teen years to work on what happened 4, 5, 6 years prior, that's huge, so that we can help them even get to more their more functioning selves in their adulthood. That's great, but there could be a huge amount of trauma that's happened, and
Oh,
that still
yeah.
takes many years to go through. Now we have adults that have gone through the system and they've never had that component of therapy, and we get a lot of them that are willing to work on it because they don't want to be stuck in that time of fear or anxiety or whatever the emotion is that corresponds to that
Right. It
event
can be
or
tough to
experience.
relive it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's if anybody wants to do that type of work, I always keep my emails open for anybody that wants resources in their area that they're in. But like Killshot said, it's
Awesome.
very important for anybody that wants to do any kind of therapy, especially inner child work, because it's so heavy, to really work through that with the therapist. I know you're talking about ketamine. That's something to really explore with that clinician, and really see if that's for them, if they're ready to do that.
Right.
If they're not ready to work on inner child work, there might be other avenues of different types of therapy that are more comfortable to each individual person in that space that they're in at that given time in their life.
Right.
So
Yeah. Everybody's journey is
it's
different and
it's
timing
so
is different.
individualized.
Yeah.
So I mean, I applaud everybody that can work through inner child work, because it is really, it's going
Uh,
back so many years. I mean, it could be something as we say is simple, and nothing's as simple, but
right.
as like a divorce that happened, that still is
Mm-hmm.
very traumatic to a child.
Yeah, it is. It's very
You know,
impactful on a child's life. Yeah.
versus something that somebody has assaulted them or something that we think, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's something way bigger that has to have a bigger impact. No, every single situation is different, and
Right.
it's different to that child and that their age and stage that they are in their development. And especially if we look at that's probably quote unquote normal development,
Mm-hmm.
but we might have an even greater aspect that we have to take in as clinicians, where we might have somebody with special needs trying to process that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
their ability might be limited in their understanding of what they went through. So
True. Yeah.
there's for us as clinicians, there's so much to that we have to take into account and cater that to whoever that person is
The
that's
individual.
entering that's entering our office at the time, and
Right.
really work it out on that very individualized plan and basis, so that they get the proper healing that they need. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's phenomenal work that gets done. It's just it could be very heavy at the time.
Yeah, because I
So
imagine, like, even just like say I started a journal and
mhm,
just kind of worked through all of my inner child, going
yeah,
through back, like Killshot said, going back to how I felt at that time of what was
hmm
happening, and like that would even be hard, just writing it out,
hmm
So I can, Yeah, but I think it's important.
Yeah, and there's different tools, like you said. There's journaling.
Mhm.
There's different. So what I did a lot in California, um, the woman that was my mentor, she was a leader in Santray work. So we did workshops with adults. With you, everybody got their own sandbox, and they could create their own stories. And
Mm.
from there, we were able to get people to really think, and without even their knowledge of what might have happened in their lifetime. And then we could help them identify it and help them
Mm.
expand on it from there.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal that adults love to play in the sand as well. Like we had just a wall of different like little toys, like, you know, we had army men and we had little cars
Yeah.
and this and that, you know, like it could be something as we like, oh, somebody was in a horrific car accident as a child. And then they're
Right.
working in the sand with a car, you know, and it,
Oh,
like they
yeah.
didn't even know that emotion comes out in them. And then we're able to kind of work through there with identifying it to,
Yeah.
okay, these things are really impacting you, you know. Then we can kind of go with that adult down the road of, when did this happen in your life, and would you like
Yeah,
to
talk
explore
about
that
it and
further, and
yeah.
yeah, and really kind of figure out what they need in their life so that they become less inhibited in their functioning as
Mhm.
adults, and
That makes
that
a
they're
lot of
happy,
sense.
that they're happier. I mean,
Right.
granted, it's not the happiest of situations, but they're happier and more functioning in their daily adult lives. So that's the
Yeah,
premise of it.
and then in the article I was reading too, it said, in if anything, if you just start out talking to
Hmm.
trusted friends and family or your chosen family,
Right,
you know, like that even helps when you can open up to someone about it. That's like
right,
a start to it, you know?
right. Because like as Killshot said, like he tried therapy and he's, you know, it was great. It was something he needed to start out doing, but it's not for him, and it's not
Right.
for everybody. And I
It's
realize
not.
that I don't take offense to it as an
Yeah.
ex-clinician. It's just not for everybody. Some people, like, they need it, you know, multiple times a
Yeah.
week, and other people
Right.
need it once a month, and some people are just like, it's just not for me. If it's not for you, there's other ways of coping though, and that
Oh,
is your
yeah.
trusted support system, and that is, you know, it could be journaling. It could be that you go and you go on a trip somewhere with somebody that's meaningful, and you kind of process the feelings that you have in that trip with somebody that's safe with you in
Right.
that given moment. So there's always things that can be um, something that could be of assistance if you don't want therapy in
Yeah,
that
and
different
that's
time period that you're going
completely
through it.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely understandable.
Yep.
And that's what I was saying. Like I did therapy a couple of times, and then I just realized I've always journaled. I've journaled since I was a teenager. So like journaling always helps me. Like that's something that I've always been able to do, and it helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Trying to see if there's anything else in any comments before I jump down.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Kristen while she's up here?
And you guys can share my email. Like I said, you know, some people don't like to talk in chat because, you
Right.
know,
True.
therapy is, you know, it's not always something people want to say that they're doing, or,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
or they want to talk about. So, but if there's somebody in need, I would be willing to, you know, find the resources for them in their given area so that they feel like they have some sort of support.
Okay. And what's your email again?
It's seriously Kristen in the number 1 at gmail.com.
Okay. Make sure I spelled everything right. Okay. So there's Kristen's email. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Hold on. I did an I at the end instead of an E.
Oh yeah. If you listen to Meg's, she'll have too many E's in there. It's just one EN.
Seriously, Kristen1 at gmail.com. Okay. I'm going to go erase the other one. But yeah,
Yep.
there's Kristen's email for anybody who wants to reach out to her, and she can help find you resources in your area for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what you're dealing with.
Yep. So
Thank you, Kristen.
yeah, no problem. But I'm glad Killshot could get up there and field it while I was trying to get dogs out of the room and had the snoring going on too. So
Oh,
um,
no problem.
yeah, I'm glad that he could answer some of those questions. But I'll be listening in. And
Okay.
if you guys need me for anything, let me know.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Bye.
All right, bye. Rocky, don't start. Um, all right, let's see. Who's that girl says, I know therapy isn't for everyone. I have a hard time talking about things, but once I started going, I realized how amazing it is. Yeah, and that's what she was saying. Therapy is great for a lot of people, and they do it sometimes for years, and that's what helps them get through, their problems, their issues. Um, but it's not for everybody. So, everyone has their own journey. Like Kristen said, it's great to have, your own support system, someone you can trust to talk to, and go from there. So, but yeah, so that's to, mainly the ones who are dealing with having, like, you're grieving also on Mother's Day. Or whether they could still be alive and you don't have a relationship with them, whether they're deceased and things were unanswered, and all those things. There's also those who have been trying to conceive and can't, and you know they they may not ever be able to bear children, and like, that's got to be tough too, because they want to be a mom so bad and they can't be. So whatever your situation, whatever you're going through, always reach out to your friends, your family, close friends and family. And if you feel therapy might work for you, definitely give it a try. Journaling, like we said, that helps. Yeah, Nana's same. I don't do it daily. I don't do it as much as I used to. There are definitely days when I'm feeling a certain type of way of certain things, and I will pull out my journal and I will document everything I'm feeling in that moment, and that is what works for me. So, but again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Regardless, how this day affects you, or if this is a great, beautiful day for a lot of people. Um, I hope that you had an amazing Mother's Day, and I hope that this live was informative and helped. Maybe you didn't realize certain things, or you've felt these things and you've never had someone voice it out to you. Um, my DMs are always open. My email is available at all times. And I do answer those. And like we said, we're part of this club that we don't really want to be a part of, but here we are. And so if you need someone to listen, if you need someone, Siffy, you beat me to it. Uh, you need someone to reach out to, please feel free to do that. And unless Siffa has anything to add, I think I'm going to get ready to close out the live. If anybody wants to come on panel and speak, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. But yeah, all in all, just remember, Mother's Day it's not just another day, because a lot of people, it does mean a lot. And one day I might reach the point where on Mother's Day I can look forward to it, and instead of feeling the sadness and the feelings that I feel about it altogether, I could just instead celebrate my mom and my grandmother in a way that would, make them happy, do something that they love to do, eat some of their favorite foods or anything like that. Jill, I'm glad that you stuck around and stayed. I'm really glad that you did. I can't journal. I never be able to read it. Oh, Megs. You would be able to read it, though. You understand your handwriting. There you go, Megs. Tiffany said you can do voice journals. Oh, you're okay, Nana. I don't know how late you came in, but you can always rewind and catch the beginning. I read a couple of things, but I'm glad that you can make it. Did you want to add anything, Sifa, or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. I hope that this was helpful to anyone going through a difficult situation, that this has been a difficult day for you. I hope that it was able to help a little way, in some way, or in a huge way. Either way. But we appreciate you all. Thank you to my mods. Again, if you're in here and you have a channel, type in link drop. It'll drop your link for those to follow you. Thank you, Crazy Mama. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Kristen. Same to you. We're your counselor, Megs. I'll try to go through the comments one more time. Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a great evening. And I hope you all have a great week. Hope that it's a nice and peaceful week for everyone. Remember, don't let the stress, drama, hate, any of that get to you. Put it aside. Don't acknowledge it. Don't engage. It's not worth it. And just keep being true to who you are. Thank you, Jim Day. Megs, are you going live today? We waited until 1 o'clock in the morning for you to go live last night, just saying. Not really waited, but we always kind of expect it. But, I know that you're busy and you have a life too. Rocky, no clubbing tonight. Thank you, Queen. All right. Well, you guys have a nice day, evening. I'm sorry. Nice night. And thank y'all for being here. We love each and every one of y'all. Stay blessed. We will, Jim J.